We're taking a look at Just Friends. I just shot a video that had to do with an analysis of this tune, and we listened to the melody. I played the melody in a bit of a chord melody style. Great tune to use in learning how to, solo and learning how to comp. And it's a classic, and if you want to play this kind of repertoire, you will need it in your repertoire. Okay, so what I'm going to do to begin with is just take a look at this chart that we've got up and just take a look at the chords that you can play. So the G7 you should pick up with the G7, and so we're just sort of going to comp through this. So here's C major, C minor. It would be nice if you could hold on to that E flat when you move to the F7. So I'm hoping by doing it this way you might learn some new chord voicings. I'm trying to keep the melody in mind. There's a G major 7 with the melody on top. If you just want to comp, you can play a major 7 or 6, right? B flat minor. So we have a 2 and 5, and then in A flat, and then a 2-5 in G, 2-5, or I should say a 3-6. And then an A7, which would be a secondary dominant, which wants to indirectly lead to 2-5. And with that little chromatic movement, and back to C major. Notice the form of the tune. We just played through 16 measures. Now we're basically going to repeat the same 16 measures with a little bit of a different ending, because it is the ending. And it does, here it does turn around and goes back to the top. Form of the tune, 16 plus 16. Very similar to All of Me, right? 16, that's also a 16 plus 16 form. That adds up to a 32 measure song form, but it doesn't really have a middle section. Okay, so the second 16 starting on that C major. And naturally, there's, lots of other voicings you could play, but G major 6, 2-5 in A flat, sort of nice change, 2 and 5, 2, I should say 3 and 6, and there's that secondary dominant, and a 2 and a 5 and the 1, and then if we go back to the top, we turn around, and then we're back to the top. Note, as I mentioned in the last video, that we actually are starting on the 4 chord. We're in the key of G, as the key signature indicates. That the tonal center is G. We're playing around with that G all the time, sort of messing with that tonal center. Here we're just moving up a semitone from that tonal center. We're starting on the 4, we move to the 4 minor, and so on. Now, there's lots of different chord voicings you could use, but the reason I'm using the ones that I'm using is because I'm assuming that maybe you haven't done a lot of this kind of playing, and so I'm just trying to go through chords that will work. Now, this play along track that will work and that you can learn. Okay, so this play along track, I got it from Davide Severino. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, David. It's a play along track that you can access. We'll leave the link in the description, and it goes at a fair clip, but that doesn't mean that you have to play straight 4. I'll show you what I mean. Here we go. We're going to play it from the top to the bottom. can just play. You can play it in whole notes, right? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And you know, there may be other play along tracks that are a little bit slower. I mean, I've heard this played as a ballad. I've played it myself as a ballad. It works like pretty as a chord melody. This is sort of a slightly more of an upswing, but still, there's lots here that you can do. I noticed that I played an alternate G major 7. So let's learn that. Here's the G major 7. And then I went to this G major 7 the second time through. This is a really nice chord. It's like this one here, G major 7, right? Except we take the third and we put it down on this string on the bottom, 2 octaves lower. Nice combination with this chord, sort of links up the fretboard quite nicely. G major 7, G major 7, right? These kinds of linking the fretboard exercises are great. You can do it with any chord. C major 7, 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 C minor 7, and so on. You know, taking each chord and working it around the fretboard in all the voicings you know, or all the voicings you can come up with. Nice way to prepare to play to comp, right? Okay, now if you don't know the melody, the melody would be a good idea to use these play along tracks and learn the melody as well. Guitar players are notorious for not learning the melody. They play, you know, I've heard a lot of players play tons of really fast scales, and they can comp, you know, but when it comes to just simply playing the melody, it seems that many of them think that's someone else's job, but it's not. It's yours as a guitarist. So let's do another pass and take a closer look at the melody. Okay, you can probably hear that, and I sort of did a bit of a chord melody thing at the same time, and a couple of little boo-boos probably. Now, how are you going to use a play-along track to play a solo or to learn to solo over something like this? Yeah, we could go through the whole thing and say, well, here I'm in the key of C, here I'm in the key of C minor. We could call that C minor, or you could call it B flat. You know, if you like, that would work as well. B flat major, and making this the 2 and the 5 of B flat major. You can go through and map out this whole tune and thereby. Then you can play those scales over the chords that are related to those scales, but that is a very nebulous way of starting to learn to solo over changes, because it just doesn't work all that great. What does work, though, is doing something simple like grabbing the roots of the chords, just the roots of the chords in an upper octave. So C, C, F, G, B flat, and you can already hear that was the third. Okay, so I'm just grabbing roots, and you can sort of hear the changes. It's like a a beginning bass player, and that's good because you want to be able to recognize the changes. You want to be able to recognize where the bass lines are going, right? And then from there, I would add a third. So C major, right, and C minor. G major in the third, right, E flat, and then yeah, that works. Yeah, so you can clearly hear those changes. Keep those in mind. That would be a good idea. And let's just add one more component. Let's link up the three, the root and the three, with a diatonic passing tone. Now, what that means is if I'm going from the root to the three, right? I can also add, in this case, C to the E is the root to the three. Let's add the two. Right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1. You don't necessarily have to do it every time, but it just gives you. Now let's see what happens when we put that together with the track. Okay, yeah, so you get the idea. I couldn't contain myself. Okay, where am I? Where's my screen? Okay, so yeah, so it's a good way to begin to ramp up to the point where you can start to hear those scales. When you're going to the three, remember that the three is going to establish whether the chord is major or minor. And so that is already an indication of the chord. And obviously you've got the root of the chord as well. Then you've got a passing note between. Now, if you can get through the whole tune, you don't necessarily have to use a play-along track. I would suggest, first of all, just practicing. Right. You can hear those changes, right? And I'm really just almost exclusively using those three notes for each chord. And what's the goal? The goal is to indicate is to indicate the progression. If you're soloing and no one knows what the tune is, let's say they walked in when you're just playing the solo, an audience person should be able to recognize the tune by the solo you are playing. And so you're always honoring the tune, you're honoring the melody, you're honoring the changes, and that makes each tune individual. And when you start to dig in this way, it's not so theoretical. You're basically just starting with the chords and you're nailing those chords. Of course, you can do the same thing when you move a little bit further. You can take the seventh of the chord. Right, there's my major 7, which is a semitone below the C. Right, again, now I have the flat 7 on that C minor, and then the G. There's my 7, just a semitone below the root. So that's the way to start building a solo, defining the chords, and it will lead you to a place where you can actually play this stuff. Just Friends, this specific tune, is a good one, and I did All of Me just recently, and I also did Night and Day. And I intend to do a whack of these to give you the opportunity to use play-along tracks that are available, like Davide Severino's tracks. There are others as well, but I like this one because it uses the real book changes, and those are usually, good changes. Of course, there's tons of chord substitutions that you can use, but that's not what we're talking about today. If this video was helpful to you, like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm immensely. Buy me a coffee. Buy one of my books, which you can get on Amazon. And please leave a question. I get back to all the questions with fairly lengthy answers. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you real soon.